All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I hope we are doing well today. It's exactly 12 minutes past midday as per my watch, and I'd like that we start right now. I am sure you saw our invite. Our webinar today is focusing on managing workplace burnout. And I think, like I mentioned earlier, that's not a new subject. Anybody that engages in some sort of work at a certain time, the body will speak to you. So workplace burnout is a topic that is relevant, that is not new to most of us. So thank you so much for choosing to join us this afternoon. Thank you so much for choosing to log in. And I promised you earlier that we will make it worth your time. So thank you so much once again. I'd like to introduce Minet just a little bit. One of the things we focus on is employee well-being. And we've decided to take out time to look at the people that make things happen in the organizations, the different organizations, and those are your employees. So we take out time to look at their well-being. So it's a product that we specifically focus on. And so workplace burnout is just one of the few topics that we, talk about or deal with when it comes to employee well-being. So you made a good choice to spend this afternoon with us to learn about this topical and yet very important aspect of our work. Ladies and gentlemen, we will get straight into the discussion. Allow me at this point to welcome my colleague, John Katende, to take us through the next 2 minutes, and then I'll be right back. John, over to you.
Thank you very much, Alan, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is John Katende from Minet Limited, and I oversee employee benefits. At Minet, we provide risk solutions, risk consultancy solutions, and insurance brokerage. And you may ask yourself why we are in the space of, employee well-being, employee mental health, and all these issues that are very relevant for the workplace today. First and foremost, our vision is to secure Africa's future, and Africa's future is really the workforce that will deliver Africa into the next millennium. And with that, we have a very big task, is to look out and advise on upcoming risks that we identify that have become a problem and how to mitigate them. So that's why we are in this conversation, and we find that it's very important. We are glad to be joined by so many practitioners in the human resource space, in the corporate working space, the consulting space, and a number of regional people on this panel right now. And what we do in this space is that we are supporting organizations to provide a space, a safe space to empower people to overcome workplace challenges, because we can very easily lose a generation if we do not act on these issues. These are what we call emerging risks in this generation. There are a number of issues, and our coach, I won't belabor going into the details, but she'll be able to bring this out. But I believe everybody on this call, wherever you are, whatever you do, you've experienced burnout of some sort. Now, when you aggregate this over many people, you lose productivity. And our conversation this afternoon is going to be focused on that area of managing workplace burnout. So I'll hand over back to Alan right now to introduce our coach for this afternoon, and then we'll go right into the presentation. Thank you very much. On behalf of the leadership of Minet Limited, I welcome you for this conversation, and we look forward to have a great time. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much, John, for that introduction. What I'll do is set some clarifications or some ground rules before we start. We have a Q&A tab. I hope everybody has a Q&A or can see a Q&A tab on their gadget, laptop, or whatever gadget it is that you're using. We have a Q&A tab. I'd like to encourage that we post our questions there so that we effectively use our time. What we'll do is we'll allow our facilitator to make her presentation fully, and then at the end of it, we'll go through the Q&A. In case of any clarifications, any issues, you can post in the chat. John and I will be attending to them right there. So, ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome our coach this afternoon. Janet Nambi is also the CEO and founder of Unconscious Brilliance. Janet is just not passionate about life and mindfulness coaching, but she's also certified in that area. Some of the things that she focuses on is minding your mind. I think we all need to mind our mind, what goes into our mind and what we think. She also focuses a lot on emotional intelligence. She addresses subjects like burnout, work-life integration. She's got extensive experience, both by training and also by, hands-on, practice. Janet, in summary, I'd call her a transformational coach. And that's based on what she has done, the people that she has helped. She supports both groups and individuals, so she can be engaged at group level to support groups in terms of dealing with the mind, and also individuals as well. So Janet draws her expertise from coaching several aspects of people, and she utilizes techniques and tools. So it's not just the theory, but she's also got practical tools that you can use as an individual or as a group to support you in terms of achieving success with the mind, with emotional intelligence, and with all that. I know that through her introduction or her speech, she's going to take us through the different sessions that support you in terms of developing your mind. Our topic today, as has already been introduced, is workplace burnout. And there's no better person we could think about that will bring out this topic very well. So, ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome a practitioner, an experienced person, a person who's been in the industry and has tested the tools and the techniques and the different aspects that she'll be bringing to us today. Ladies and gentlemen, Janet Nambi.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Can everyone hear me clearly? Can I get a thumbs up in the conversation?
Yes, we can, Janet.
Excellent. All right. Okay, I'm not going to speak about myself. I think you've done a great job, Ellen, and maybe I should just carry you with me to do my introductions, because that's way better than I do it. All right. So as John and Ellen have said, we're going to be talking about managing workplace burnout. And without further ado, I'm not going to go over my who I am. That has been done. So we're going to talk about what burnout is. Why do we burn out? What happens? How does our character contribute, and how does our work environment contribute to burnout? And then we're going to look at the signs of, how do you know that you're burning out, or how do you know that you're actually burnt out? And I'll give you some tips on how to manage burnout. But first, what I want to share is, I got this off of the Gallup poll, and this is something that I know that the Western world has gotten into the habit of doing these assessments to find out where their employees stand, because burnout, especially during the pandemic, was such a problem. And so what Gallup found, this was in 2022, what they found was 76%, or 3 out of 4 employees experience burnout at some point in their work life. Whereas it felt individually, it actually affects the organization holistically, because when you're burnt out, you're definitely not going to be productive. Now, before I get started into the meat of the presentation, I wanted us to do a very quick assessment. How good are you at managing your emotions? Because burnout is really emotional erosion. Your emotions are eroded, and you become kind of numb, but numb in a very negative state of emotions. So let's try this poll very quickly. I want you to take a score. I'm going to read out a question. If you're on your screen and you can see this, the questions, follow along. And then you're going to score yourself. So question number 1 is, I trust myself. The score, and by the way, the first number that comes to mind is what you write down. So just write down the first number that comes to mind. 0 being strongly disagree, 5 being strongly agree, and you fall in between, just pick a number. I trust myself. As far as emotional resilience is concerned, I trust myself. Just pick a number and write it down. Nobody's going to look at your scores, they're yours. At the end of this, I'm going to show you where you fall in the category, in the various categories. All right. Question number 2, I'm proud of my achievements. Do you strongly agree or strongly disagree? Pick a number. First number that comes to mind. Don't overthink it. You can do this later. Again. Number 3, I have the power to overcome difficulties. Strongly disagree or strongly agree? I can handle criticisms. Strongly disagree or strongly agree? Just pick a number. I am respectful towards myself and others. Strongly disagree or strongly agree? I am aware of my strengths and my weaknesses. Think about that for a minute. And by the way, it helps you to be honest with yourself. All right. Then number 9, I focus on solutions more than problems. I focus on solutions more than problems. I wouldn't think so much about what people say about you. If you believe what they say about you, then pick a number and write based on that. If you believe what you say about yourself, pick a number and take a score. I love my life. Strongly disagree or strongly agree? That's the last number. So, those of you who have been able to take a score, let's move on. I want you to, where do you fall? If you were to look at your score, total the numbers, whatever numbers you've chosen, you've selected, add up a total very quickly. And feel free to share a couple of numbers in the chat. Again, this is your score, so nobody's going to hold you accountable for it. No one cares. Yes, somebody got 36. That's fantastic. And do not feel bad if you get like 10. It's okay. What we are doing right now is creating awareness. How emotionally resilient are you? All right. Because if you're going to work through any challenge, you need this emotional resilience. So anybody scoring between 0 and 15, you're in a place of low resilience. And remember, this is just awareness. Nobody's going to point a finger at you. Anybody between 16 and 30, you're in the middle, right? And whereas you're okay, you have the ability to combat stress, it can be improved. Again, the choice is yours. No one is going to hold you accountable. And if you're 31 to 50, you're pretty good. You've got high emotional resilience. And that should be the target for all of us. But remember, the choice is yours. If 25 works for you, that's okay too. Nobody's going to hold a gun to your head to try and change it. All right? Okay. So let's move on. Why did I bring emotional resilience in the picture? Because you need it to be able to deal with burnout. You absolutely need it. Now, what is burnout? I'm going to start off with some characteristics of burnout. It is not just bad emotions, but you totally feel like your emotions are absolutely eroded, like they are gone. You're stuck in a negative state. That energy and enthusiasm that you used to have coming to work when you first got that job, when you take yourself back there, how it felt, you don't have that anymore. And every day you're dragging yourself out of bed to come to work. Your confidence levels are low. I see a lot of my clients experiencing imposter syndrome because they are getting into a burnout phase, right? Or they're burning out. And you're chronically stressed, right? Whereas when you're just stressed, there's not a thin line between stress and burnout. The two are different. When you're just stressed, you can handle the stress. You will probably take a vacation, do some workout exercises, and you relieve that stress. But with burnout, it's totally different. You're chronically stressed, and the exhaustion, both mentally and emotionally, it drags you down. It feels like it's weighing you down. Oh God, not another, right? That's what burnout feels like. And the worst thing is, burnout actually does make you lose meaning in life, in a lot of things in life. You are so detached that you don't want to know. It makes you distance yourself from friends, it makes you distance yourself from having a good time, doing activities that you used to enjoy. You disconnect from the most important relationships, right? So you're constantly in a negative spiral, not feeling like you can do it. So you do less. And then when you do less, you cause more problems for yourself. And then when you cause more problems for yourself, you do even less. And then the cycle starts. It's rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. That's what burnout does. I have my own personal story of burnout, which I'll get into in a little while. World Health Organization actually wanted to, they were on the verge of characterizing burnout as a disease, just like they would depression. However, they said that it has 3 dimensions: the exhaustion, inefficacy. Inefficacy means that you're not showing up fully, you're not using your strength or your expertise or your experience to show up fully and be present in your job in the best way that you possibly can. You're unproductive. And cynicism, I mean, everything just becomes like a burden to you. Your job becomes a burden. Your boss becomes a burden. Your colleagues are a burden. That's what cynicism looks like. And when these 3 are combined and they're sitting there brewing, then you are in a state of burnout. In fact, if you've ever been to a doctor feeling sick, but then you get there and the doctor says, look, there's absolutely nothing wrong with you. They will do all kinds of tests, and you even get fed up of tests. I know somebody who was tested and she got tired of being tested, and she was told to go and rest. That, my friend, is burnout. When they can't find out what's happening to you, chances are you are burning out. Now, burnout has a spectrum. For some people, you might be right at the beginning. Some people might be on the verge of depression because burnout not solved or chronic stress not dealt with will lead to depression. So let me tell you a little bit about myself and how I did experience burnout. So I'm speaking from a point of authority. And if any of you has done a personality test, I did one which assigned me, I did the 16 personalities or the Enneagram or the MBTI. It claimed, which I believe it claims, that I am an INFJ, an assertive advocate. And what that means is I enjoy spending time by myself. The I is introverted. The N is I can be quite intuitive. The F, I do function on feeling, which can be a good thing, but a very bad thing as well. And the judging means that I take so much into consideration before I make a decision, right? So because I'm an assertive advocate, I am the type of person who stretches, right? What characteristics do I have? I am the type of person who will not leave anybody behind. I like to help. And when I set my mind to doing something, I'm very idealistic. When I set my mind to doing something, I will stick to it until I see it through. I guess that explains why I'm here. But also my previous, I was an entrepreneur before I got into coaching, and I was an entrepreneur for 10 years with 2 partners. And clearly, because of the drive that I bring to my work, and my partners had the same drive, we did create a lot of success for ourselves. I am I can be a very empathetic person, which means that, I tend to carry on and I feel what others feel. And then I carry on other people's burdens, right? And I'm the type of person who wants to fix all problems. I want the world to be a better place. I want everybody to get along, be happy ever after, right? Some of what else here applies. I'm a career extrovert. I will not, I tend to kind of defy the status quo. So in doing that, I'm constantly looking for, what can I do differently? What can I do better? So if you have these characteristics, the reason I'm bringing out this is some of these characteristics are the ones that lead us to burnout, because we put a lot of expectation on ourselves, or a lot of pressure on ourselves. And one of the worst characteristics for an INFJ, like I am, it's perfectionism. We have a certain made up measure of perfectionism in our mind. We think we can achieve perfection. My friend, if you are one of those people who's been running around saying to yourself, I am a perfectionist, I'm sorry to break your bubble, but that's something you want to, that's a dress you want to take off, or a jacket you want to slowly get off your back, because it can lead you to burnout. And you're constantly, the problem with perfectionism is you don't stop to appreciate even the little you've achieved. And that means that it's very difficult for you to seek help as well from other people. So you take on a lot. And even when you seek help from others, you're looking for the same level of perfection that you've set for yourself. So these are the characteristics that often lead us into burnout. However, there's so many good things about the INFJ person. Now, all of these tests are going to somehow show you where you fall and whether you're likely to experience burnout. If you haven't taken one, go ahead and do that. So I'm that type of person. Now, when I was running my business, I did bring in the A-type personality, right? This is the personality that describes a person who's ambitious, very competitive, strong drive for achievement. I cannot deny that I still have that now, except now that I am probably in burnout PTSD. I'm a little more careful on how much I take on. So if you are that type of person, the A personality, you're likely to burn out. There are so many other personalities that are going to burn out, but I just wanted to show you what I am especially familiar with, because that's me. Now, the competitiveness, the ambition, the drive did get me into burnout. And 7 years ago, I left the entrepreneurship just like that. I had no idea I was burning out. Absolutely none. I just didn't know what was going on. All I know is I could not pull myself out of bed for another minute to be able to go to work. And for that reason, I felt like I was letting my employees down. I was letting my business partners down. And I see this a lot with some of my clients when they come to me. I had an entrepreneur. She has about 40 staff. And she said, this is my business. I am failing. And yet I feel like I'm letting my people down, and I cannot separate myself from my business. What else am I going to do? So that's what happens when you're experiencing burnout. You become a little detached. So amongst the personalities, or rather some of the characteristics within the personalities, I've mentioned perfectionist, highly empathetic individuals. I've mentioned that we do see a lot of burnout in teachers, in nurses, people who take care of others, professions that take care of others, but also in high tech, telecoms, first responders are those people that are always running to emergencies. Such people do experience higher than normal levels of burnout than everybody else. What I want to highlight on this slide is people pleasers, right? This is something that's very common everywhere, not just where I'm from, but everywhere, all over the world. And sometimes it's so culturally ingrained that we don't even know we are people pleasers. We're trying to help everybody, please everybody, do things, stretch and do things for other people, not realizing that at some point this can lead you to resentment. It can lead you to a whole lot of judgment. But remember, you're the one who offered to please somebody else, and now you want to hold them accountable for not recognizing what you're doing. So people who tend to be people pleasers absolutely do burn out eventually. And those are the people who eventually snap. They had a friend and then they snap and they automatically, in one breath, they drop the person as if they didn't know them anymore. So you want to watch out for that. Introverts, we like to spend a lot of time alone. Busy environments can lead us to burnout. If you're in a high pressure job, it can lead to burnout, especially if it involves getting out a lot. Lastly, overly confident individuals. Overly confident individuals believe that they can do anything, achieve anything, be anything. That can lead to burnout because they tend to require so much of themselves. Yeah. Now, characteristic alone can lead to burnout, but combined with workplace challenges, you can actually find yourself in a faster state of burnout when you have certain challenges at work. Workload, yes, I mean, every organization, a lot of them rather, will have heavy workloads. But having a heavy workload means that you have to be able to recognize what you can handle and what you cannot. And I'm going to get into the solutions later, okay? How we're going to deal with these solutions. Oops. Someone's going to help me with that call. So workloads, if you're taking on way more than you need to, you're definitely going to lead yourself into burnout. I know some of you are probably wondering, but what if my boss is giving me the work and I cannot say no? We'll talk about that later. Control. As human beings, we like to have a sense of control. And where we feel like we don't have flexibility or we are not given latitude, we tend to cower or we tend to pull back. And that can lead us into burnout. When you want the control that you need and you don't have it at work, you're definitely going to go into burnout. Reward. Now, yeah, some of you might be clapping and thinking, yeah, I need more money so I don't burn out. We think that money can solve all our problems. But let me tell you something. At my previous employment, or rather my previous partnership business, I made good money, very good money, for a cool 10 years. And then I walked away from it. If you haven't had a chance to see my I do have a talk on a TEDx talk on walking away from the money. Look it up. I walked away from it because I was burnt out. At that moment, there was no amount of money that was going to turn me around to go back into that business. I was so detached. So money is good. It can solve a lot of problems, but it is not going to heal your burnout. So by reward, there's other things, recognition, there's being recognized for an achievement or given a pat on the back. Reward goes beyond just the money. All right. Community. If you have 3 friends at work, 3 friends that you can spend some time with to, cool off that steam, that you talk to comfortably, then you're good. If you have 0, you might ask yourself why. As introverted as you might be, you might want to ask why am I not allowing myself to have even just 1 friend? So community at work is very important. Values, oh my God, I cannot stress this enough because every client that I've had, we've had to go back to what's important to you at work, what's important to you in your relationships, what's important to you in your health. How do you describe the values that would give your life meaning? It's very important that you work in a place where your values are aligned. I mean, sometimes I had somebody who called me one time, wanted me to work with his wife, and she works in an organization that that does things off the book. Like if they promised something, they'll do something else, and they are okay with it. And some of us sit there and cringe when these people are doing things that are not aligned with our values, or when we are asked to do something that doesn't align with our values. If even just watching everybody else around you do it and you're not participating, that's going to lead you to burnout because you don't fit in. Values is what makes you fit in. So instead of walking around the hallway and laughing at the values that the organizations plaster all over the hallways and in the meeting room or the dining room, look at them a second time and ask yourself, what does integrity really mean to me? Am I living it? Because if you're not living your values at any point in your life, you're definitely going to burn out. And it doesn't affect burnout. It doesn't affect you at work alone, but even in your relationships. If your values don't align, you're absolutely not going to make the relationship work. All right. Thoughts, thoughts, thoughts. I cannot stress this enough. When I was being introduced, Alan said that I do help people manage their mind. That's what every coach does, is we help you manage your mind. But we have different ways of doing that. Now, when you're sitting in an organization and you're thinking, this place has so much work, it is killing me. Guess what you're going to manifest? You're going to manifest death by workload. But if you're sitting there and thinking, you know what, there's just way too much work here, but I think I can figure something out to make me feel better or to handle it better. Maybe it's time management that you need, whatever it is. Then you're going to manifest that which you're looking for, right? Anybody read Eckhart Tolle? You know, he talks a lot about how we manifest the results that we have in our lives. And it's so true. It is our mind that creates the results that we have in our lives. So whatever you're making the workload mean, whatever you're making the community mean, whatever you're making the values mean, at the end of the day, it's the thoughts. If they are not managed, if they're leading you to that negative spiral, then you're going to absolutely simmer in burnout. Okay. So what are some of the signs? I'll come to the what we can do later. What are some of the signs? Overwhelm, as I mentioned earlier, decreased motivation and enthusiasm. You absolutely do not want to get up out of bed and go to work. When you're given an assignment at work or a project, or you're invited to work on something, which by the way you loved before, now you're saying to yourself, oh my God, it's just way too much. And the way too much, and I can guarantee you that whatever you're receiving at that point it's not a lot. But you have this accumulated way too muchness going on in your head, and that's why you've got this decreased motivation now and enthusiasm. You're constantly irritable, and you're not just constantly irritable at work. Remember, you have one brain. It's the brain that's going to go home. It's the brain that's going to run into the taxi drivers or at the shopping center when you're being served slowly. That's the same brain you're carrying there. So you're just going to be snappy. Decreased satisfaction and accomplishment. There's a tendency to not realize or recognize your accomplishments when you're burning out. You forget the goodness that you've done or the contribution you have made. And sometimes that's why we see people failing out of their roles. You're wondering, he used to be so good, what happened? Or she used to be so good, what happened? That's just it. They burnt out and the productivity disappeared along with the eroded emotions. You've got anxiety, reduced concentration and productivity. I've talked about that. Constantly frustrated, increased anger and emotional outbursts. But the worst, ladies and gentlemen, unmanaged chronic stress will lead you to depression, like it or not. It will lead you to depression. So don't ever think at any one moment, if you feel if any of these characteristics are you, don't you ever feel at any one moment that you will not get depressed because it's not in your lineage, in your family, or whatever. No. Depression creeps up on you. It does not show, it doesn't shout that it's coming. Neither does burnout. It does not shout that it's coming. So the onus is on you to understand when your body says, I am not sleeping well, I have migraines, when you have digestive issues, high blood pressure, when your body says, I do not want to engage with other people, I always want to be alone, I don't even want to watch Netflix, I don't even want to go golfing, whatever it is you used to do for fun. When I go out to the club, I'm bored, you sit there like a dummy, tree stump, looking at everybody else have fun, yeah? Constant fatigue, and sometimes it's muscle pain. So these are the things that you're taking to the doctor and you think you're sick. But sometimes it's just they're starting on and it's burning out. Now, it can get worse. I know 2 people who have suffered heart attacks. These 2 gentlemen are actually in the coach, where I did my coach certification. They're in my coaching cohort. And I mean, they lost it all. When they suffered burnout, suffered heart attacks, they actually first suffered heart attacks before they knew they were burning out. So what burnout does then, it throws you off. It totally throws you off anything that you were previously interested in. When I left my previous business, there was no amount of money you were going to pay me to start a recruiting agency. Absolutely not. Because I was done. That's what burnout does. It depletes you to that extent. So you don't want to wait until the alarm bells go off in your office because you've suffered a heart attack. All right. So you want to be very careful. Now, if you've started recognizing that you're slowly burning out, what do? There are some Band-Aid solutions. These Band-Aid solutions work for people who have not totally gone to the that end of the spectrum that's, where the alarm bells are going off, where everything is flashing red. Take a vacation, take care of yourself, give yourself breaks when you can. I know some work environments where people feel guilty taking some time off, but I also know that we work with humans and humans can be understanding. So when you do a vacation and you come back and you're still feeling the same way, my friend, you're burning out. That was a Band-Aid solution. When that reward and recognition that we talked about, when it's given to you and you still feel the same way, you still feel like you're not being validated, that's a Band-Aid solution. Self-medication, people tend to go to drugs or painkillers. That's by the way, this can cause addiction to painkillers. This mindless distractions, I talk about mindless distractions like over Netflixing or alcohol, overeating or overworking out, anything that you do to the extreme. I also call that self-medication, because you think that buffer is going to help you be able to release some of the pain that you're experiencing as you're going through burnout. But what you want to do is, because this is related to the workplace, where is your mismatch? If every day you're going to work, you're dreading your workload, what's the mismatch between you and your work? Do you need a little bit more help with planning? Do you need to learn how to prioritize? Do you need to delegate a little bit more? Perfectionists do not like to delegate. We don't. We want to do everything ourselves. And then when we delegate, we're going to be checking on the person to see what they've done. So you want to watch out for that. You want to know where you fall as far as your workload is concerned. And what you do is then you go and talk to your supervisors about your workload. Seek help. If you try your own solutions, of course, if you want to learn, to be a better planner, go on to Udemy, take a $7 course, and that might help move the needle for you, right? Or some time management courses. Read up. Find some books and read up. It might move the needle for you. But if you need help, look, would your supervisor complain if you're trying to be more productive? Because you're going for help to help you with your workload because you're trying to be more productive, not because you're trying to hand over and not do anything. So that's the mindset you want to take when you're seeking help. All right. And if you feel that you need a little bit more latitude or flexibility within your role, ask. All you have to do is ask. And what's the worst that can happen when you ask, right? The worst that can happen is somebody says yes, maybe, no. And if they say no, it's good feedback as well. You can decide what you want to do moving on. You can decide that, okay, if I'm not going to get the flexibility that I need or the control that I need in my role, oftentimes people look for this kind of control when they're getting into leadership positions. They think if I become the leader, if I do become a manager, then I'll have this kind of control. No, you don't have to wait for that. Some of my clients that I'm working with, we're actually going through leadership development programs. We're working through what they want to do to develop into a leader. So that control, when you're tired of being the doer, and you want to have a little bit more authority, ask. The worst that can happen is yes, maybe, no, and that's it. You're dealing with another human being, remember? All right. So as I mentioned earlier, reward is not just about money. If you feel that you're not getting the fulfillment in your role and you're getting little recognition for your performance, maybe you want to speak up a little bit more. Maybe you want to confide in somebody and let them know that, look, I feel like I'm not being validated. However, is it me, or do I not know how to speak up? Do I not know how to show my stakeholders what I'm made of? Or do I need help to be able to do that? There's a reason you have a supervisor. Your supervisor is not to just give you work, or your boss. Their job is not to just give you work. Their job is to help see you grow, So if this is important to you, which it should be, fulfillment should be important to you, ask for that fulfillment that you're looking for. But what's very important, my friends, is you find the fulfillment yourself. Look at your role and decide, okay, this is what I'm good at. This is where I need help. Ask for where you need help so you can grow. The good at circle can then grow, right? Or you can decide, I am excellent in this role, and I think I can do that next role. What do I need to be able to get into that next role? That's how you find the fulfillment for yourself, all right? So go ahead and decide, if I am not fulfilled right now, how do I create fulfillment for myself? If you have a supervisor or friend, a mentor, I can't emphasize this enough. Get yourself a mentor. Everybody needs a mentor. They will guide you on how you can be able to grow and find that fulfillment that you're looking for. But then again, remember that the achievements that you have accomplished so far, it is entirely up to you to look at them as achievements. Don't wait for anybody else to see those achievements. So you need to allow yourself to shine in front of your stakeholders. Give yourself permission to shine. All right? All right, fairness. Why do I have fairness up there? Because I have heard of people talking about fairness a lot. Oh, this place is not fair. They don't treat women fairly. They don't treat Black people fairly. They don't treat everybody fairly, so and so fairly. Look, if the circumstances are, you're making them mean that it's not, the place is not, the environment is not fair, what do you want to do, right? Because if you have some control over the fairness of the organization, then you can do something about it. Engage, do something about it. But if you have absolutely no control over the circumstances, the decision is yours to decide what you want to do going forward. Nobody's going to make that decision for you, I'm afraid. So you can complain until the chickens come home, but nobody's going to help you with that. So fairness is a mindset thing. It really is. Once you've decided what you're making it, once you understand what you're making it mean, then you decide whether you fit in or not. I know some people, probably some of your bosses are going to look at me like, what are you telling them to quit? Quitting is always an option, because if you stay in an environment where you're not happy, guess what? You're wasting the company money, right? And you're wasting your own time. The quicker you go is the further you move forward, right? But I'm not advising that you quit after burnout. Worst decision you can ever make. Sometimes it's the only option, but when you quit a job, when you're burning out in one job and you quit to go into another one, guess what you're going to carry with you? Burnout, you're going to carry it there. Trust me, it's not going to feel any better. So when you're absolutely burnt out, you actually need healing. There's some clients I cannot work with when they are so burnt out that they'll need to go into therapy or counseling. That's how bad burnout gets, all right? So again, community, pull some people in your circle who can give you the support system that you need. And if you can't find those at work, then you want to question yourself, do I fit into this community? Is it working for me, right? And of course, going back to values, identify what's important to you at work. Identify what's important to you in your relationships. Relationships are not just the intimate ones at home, but also the relationships at work. How much involvement do I want in my relationships? How intimate do I get with my colleagues when I'm talking about my personal business? Some people might be open enough to talk about their personal business to a certain extent. That doesn't mean that you're comfortable. So you stand your ground and stop where you want to stop. If you open up way more than you need to, then I'm afraid you're overstepping your own values, and that can lead you to burnout. All right. So determine what it is that's important to you at work, and then strive to achieve it, to get it, and live it. Because if you don't live it, then you will get into a state of burnout. It's very important for us to live our values every day. Very important. If you haven't identified them, there's so many free resources out there that can help you identify what's valuable, what's more important to you. All right. Regularly scheduled self-care. I cannot stress this enough. Now, I know the women, we make a lot of noise about self-care. It is going on, getting that pedicure, getting that massage, going out with friends and hanging out in an environment that's going to help us rejuvenate. And the gentlemen will do their golfing, will they hang out with the boys and do all that good stuff. But sometimes you need your own personal time. Introverts, we always need our personal time to recharge, refuel. We do. If you're an introvert, you need your personal time to refuel. Extroverts like to refuel in groups. So sometimes it's very necessary to take your own personal time out. If you cannot take a fancy vacation to Paris or anything like that, take one within the country. Do it by yourself. You'll be amazed how much you engage with your own thoughts when you are by yourself. And once you're doing whatever personal time you're taking out to do your self-care, there are some things you're going to have to create some boundaries. Put the gadgets away, decide that I'm not going to be watching TV, decide that I'm just going to sit with my thoughts. For those of us who are spiritual, we can decide that I'm just going to sit with some spiritual nourishment, and that too can help. It can help you. So, but you want to do all these before you get into that critical state where you're burning out to a point that you're going to need a doctor and therapy. So you want to be able to earn a paycheck to live your life well, not to be able to get paid to survive at work. Get my point? You want to be able to do that, all right? Getting paid to survive at work means that you're paying a counselor, you're paying a therapist, you're buying medications to keep you sane at work, all right? So lastly, I'm a mindfulness practitioner, and these tools are very important in helping us be able to achieve that state of mind that's going to keep us present, that's going to keep us fully engaged and fully productive at work. And what we do with mindfulness, quick one for you, meditations. Meditations are always something you can run to. They're free of charge. So many of them. There's so many apps nowadays that I see that have meditations. There's so many of them on YouTube. If you want to get into the practice of sitting alone to have some time alone, try it. It's going to feel odd if you're trying it out for the first time, because it did for me. I was like, what am I supposed to do? Think? No. You want to get away from your thoughts. That's why you meditate. That's the only way you can get away from your thoughts, by the way, because if your brain is producing 60,000 thoughts a day, you can't control that. You know, it's a magic machine. So you want to be able to sometimes, when you take that time out and meditate, sit, think, see what your thoughts are telling you, see what your thoughts are making you feel, see what actions your thoughts are making you do, contemplate on an event that did not go well for you, that you did not like, you know, the result you did not like. What were you thinking at that time? What were you feeling? What actions did you show? And what results did you bring out? So this is what we work on when we are helping somebody heal from burnout. It's, if this is the result and I don't like it, now let's go back to what we were thinking. Read some of Eckhart Tolle's books, The Power of Now, fantastic book. What book did I wanted to suggest on the thoughts? Don't remember. But anyways, there's so many out there. Just look, Google personal development, ask somebody to refer a book. So it is whatever result that you have in your life right now, everything that you are right now, it is only coming from here. It is not your workplace. It is not your boss. It is not your colleagues. It is not your wife or your husband. It is nobody out there that's creating who you are or making you feel the way you're feeling right now. I'm afraid to tell you that. But yeah, results come from what we are making the situation or circumstances mean. All right, my friends. So I just wanted to conclude with this quote. I have no idea who wrote it, but it makes a lot of sense that burnout is not about giving too much of yourself. It is about giving what you do not possess. Okay, so I'd really encourage you, understand who you are, know who you are, know what triggers you, understand your environment, speak up, seek help. All right, there's so much help that Minet is offering you. Take advantage of it. But your bosses, supervisors, when you're trying to seek help, you're talking to humans. When you go into a meeting room to have a difficult conversation, and you know that I'm going to be talking to a human being just like I am, that conversation becomes easy. All right. Thank you. And that's it for my presentation. I'm hoping that we have some questions.
All right. Thank you very much, Coach Janet. Such an insightful and enlightening presentation. Thank you very much. I think we are a little bit more aware of burnout. Some of the things that really stood out for me, that last statement that you made, Coach Janet, burnout isn't giving too much of yourself. It's actually giving what you don't have. You don't have that extra energy. You don't have that. You don't have that. You're giving what you don't have. That really stood out. Thank you so much. And some of the things you mentioned, thoughts lead to feelings, actions, results. So those were such powerful insights. Now, the people on the call, I hope you actually took the self-assessment score. I will not tell you mine, but I hope most of us took that self-assessment score so that you know exactly where you stand. One of the people that I like to read about, in my free time is David Hodgins. And one of the things he says is that the most important conversations are those that you have with yourself. It's really what Coach Janet was saying, doing a self-assessment, a self-evaluation. Do you still have that energy? Do you still have that which you're giving out, or you're actually giving from what you don't have? So thank you so much, Coach Janet, for those wonderful insights. And one other thing that you mentioned is that when you're burnt out, you don't need another job. I think that's where most of us corporates fall victim. When you're burnt out, you think, oh, I need another job. I need to leave this company and move to another company. That's not what you need. What you actually need is healing. So thank you very much, Janet. And speaking on the subject of healing, one of the things that Minet has done, like I mentioned in the beginning, is set up employee wellness or employee assistance programs. These are programs that deal with any sort of challenges. We address personal challenges that relate to relationships, workplace, marital, family, supervisors, everything is addressed. We also deal with health or well-being. We coach you on living well. So we have different partner coaches that support us in dealing with personal well-being, stress management. I think stress is a subject that is constant in the workplace. So we support you on stress management. How can we support people with managing stress? And then we support in family crises. Unfortunately, sometimes we are faced with family crises and they affect how we deliver at our workplaces. Managing money. Money is a real issue. So managing money is one of the topics that we help you with. Sometimes it's not that the money is not enough, it is how it is managed. So we handle that. We handle legal issues. We help with post-trauma management, grief and loss. Grief is with us because people lose loved ones. And unfortunately, depending on how close the loved one is, it can affect how you deliver in your workplace. Accidents and any other incidences that affect you, we deal with that sort of trauma. We also support with addictions and substance abuse. Sometimes we under-deliver in our workplaces because we are affected by any of those things. So those are some of the things that we deliver at in Minet. If you would like our services, you can reach us at hope@minet.co.ug. We will support you. I think my colleague John is going to drop that email address in the chat, and we will support you in any, area of employee assistance that you may need support. We have a fully fledged counseling center here at Minet to support you as well. So Janet is one of our coaches, and Janet, I really celebrate you because I see the comments in the chat. Really thanking you for a well-delivered presentation. I will get into the questions so that I don't just get excited alone. So there are many people that are thanking you, but I'll get into the questions. Lorna is asking, is anxiety disorder part of burnout? So that goes to you, Janet. I think I'll take 2 and then allow you respond, and then you will get back to the questions again. And then, how do you handle work burnout led by your supervisor, but you want to handle it respectfully? Janet, I know that you will figure how to address those questions. So we'll take those 2 and then I'll be right back. Over to you, Janet.
Okay, so the first question is anxiety disorder part of burnout? No, it's not, but it can lead to burnout. Now, anxiety, by the way, is something that many of us live with. I know I do. And it is not something that you want to get rid of either, especially if it's something, if anxiety is the body's way of dealing with a challenge, that's all. In fact, all of our negative emotions, anger, everything, we're just saying, hey, there's a need that's not being met, and I just need help to meet that need. But anxiety is quite interesting that sometimes it's learned at such a young age that you're growing with it and the body just naturally takes it on and you have to live with it. You don't have to get rid of it. So one thing that everyone needs to know is all of our emotions are giving us feedback, whether they're positive. And if you're the type of person that has anxiety disorder, you probably want to get into some counseling sessions or therapy sessions to figure out what the triggers are. First of all, where did it come from and what are the triggers? And once you're aware, then it's easy to manage. But when you're not aware, I come across so many people who don't even realize that they have anxiety disorder or are anxious, highly anxious, and the anxiety affects how they relate. They're the people, people who are anxious are very snappy, and we are quick to change our mind about something or jump from one thing to another. So you just want to recognize be aware of what it does. Once you are aware, then you can manage it. But it's not something that you want to get rid of. I mean, it would be nice. If you want to get rid of it, it's going to be very difficult, and it will cause you more pain than anything else. The second question was if your burnout is caused by a supervisor, how do you deal with it respectfully? So if burnout is caused by a supervisor, now, in my last presentation, I did say that whatever is surrounding you probably has nothing to do with it. The reason I said that is because we take a lot of our circumstances and interpret them a certain way. So you might think that you're burning out because of your supervisor, but it's actually your interpretation of the character of the supervisor that's causing you to burn out. Now, I'm not saying that if you have maybe a rude boss or somebody who shouts and throws, punches walls, your boss throws and punches walls, I'm not saying that that's an environment that you can thrive in. What I'm saying is when they punch the wall or when they shout at you or embarrass you in front of your colleagues, what are you making it mean about yourself? You understand? So in the end, really, it is not them, it's you. You showed up into this workplace wanting something, looking for something, goes back to those values. You wanted to gain some kind of meaning and fulfillment in the workplace, but you're not getting it right now. Now, if you cannot change the circumstances, what do you want to do? Because if you're saying, I want to deal with it in a diplomatic way, that means have a list of things that you would like to ask for to have changed, but be realistic about what can be changed. If it's a business owner and that's their character, they punch walls, guess what? It might be a little difficult for you to get through to them. Maybe certain things, turmoil of certain things has to happen before they realize that they're the ones that are creating a stressful situation. Toxic people, we cannot help. We can't. And we cannot, don't even pretend that you're going to help somebody not be toxic. That's just who they are. At the end of the day, the question is, What are you making it mean about yourself? What you're making it mean about yourself determines how you feel at work, and it will determine how you show up. Okay? I hope that helps. I wish I could tell you that, just go ahead and tell them that, you know what, I don't like the way you talk to me. You can do that. By the way, you can do that. You have every right. It's a choice. The choice is yours. But what result are you looking for in the end? All right? Because they could say, that's how I'm going to talk anyways. And then you can't help it. All right?
Thank you very much. I'll take one more set. I know that we've stretched our time a little bit, but this has been such a worthwhile topic. So I'll take a few more, a couple of more, and then we will wrap up. Janet, Anne is asking, how do you identify burnout as a supervisor among your staff? And then we have one from Rajab. I think he's inquiring who's the author of The Power of Now. And then we have one from Jacqueline. Do online friends count? Yeah. And then maybe we'll tie that up. We'll tie the one from Anne with the one from Sarah. How do you avoid burnout as a startup organization with limited people to delegate? So I think we'll take just those four and then we'll wrap it up.
Excellent. All right. So Eckhart Tolle, I've put the, and I've misspelled it. I've put the author in the chat, The Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle. Now, how do you, do online friends matter? Goes back to values. Everything in your life should be centered around what you value the most. So whatever you're getting out of those online friends, if it's creating some kind of value in your life that in the long term, it's going to lead to some kind of success, then absolutely. So you just need to decide, are they going to be valuable for me, to me, and for how long? Right? And not just online friends, the people that we get along with in our life, it's because our values are aligned. That's why they're friends. How do you, as a supervisor, manager, identify burnout? One, people start to pull back. They're not going to raise their hand to offer, hey, I have a project. Who wants to help out with this? They're not going to raise their hand. They're going to be running. Two, they're probably going to be tardy. There's going to be a whole lot of procrastination. They are not going to be, basically, everything that they need to be productive, it's just not there. So that person that's burning out is probably giving you about 70%, 50 to 70% of what they should or what they did previously. Once you start to notice that, before the alarm bells go off, just start talking to them. By the way, supervisors, I really encourage you, sit down and ask your employees. I mean, when I had employees, I would sit down and we talk about their personal life. And then I'll get to know them a little better. That connection helps. It can give you a little bit more about the person. Some people are not comfortable asking about personal lives, and that's okay. Find something else talk about soccer. I don't know, whatever it is that can create that connection. Talk to the people, you will understand. But as long as their performance is dropping every year, their productivity is dropping, then those are signs that they are actually burning out. And how do you avoid burnout as a startup? Oh yeah, founder burnout. Ooh, I started my coaching business about 4 years ago. And I remember that experience, founder burnout, because I went from being an entrepreneur in a partnership, 2 partners, who I could run to anytime I needed support. And now I was on my own, solopreneur. So what you do as a founder, have a mentor. Secondly, one of the things that I find that founders fall into the trap of asking questions. Again, they're constantly consulting. I mean, consulting becomes a full-time job. That will lead you to burnout because you're going to get all these people suggesting so many things that you can do, and then you don't do any. You don't put any in action. Right? So that's one of the reasons that founders really get into burnout. It's that constant second guessing, the self-belief, the checking, am I doing this right? This is not going to go well. That anxiety, right? That's what leads you to burnout. So notice when you are just constantly spinning into validation and verification, and then take a pause, pull back, and then assess, why do I keep asking about this again and again and again? Why am I failing to take action? Because as a founder, what you want to do, by the way, is just take action very quickly. Take action very quickly and then move on. It worked, great. Let's capitalize on what worked. Did not work, too bad. Or you can always get a coach. There's so many of them out there that can help. Was that the last question? Especially with an A personality. Oh, yeah, she said especially with an A personality. Recognize when you're stretching. With the A personality, just recognize when you're overstretching. Because at 8 p.m., if you're busy pulling out, I need to actually do this, I don't know, sign these invoices or do that extra one thing, ask yourself the question, if I do not do it right now, if I decide that time is up, I need to stop, what's the worst that could happen? You'll find that the worst that could happen is you're just going to go to sleep and enjoy your sleep and then start again the next day. We cannot stretch 24 hours any more than 24 hours. So just notice when you are overstretching yourself and then ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen if I don't do this? And it's okay to not do something. Absolutely okay. All right.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Coach Janet. Again, very, very insightful conversation. Very, very insightful. Thank you so much. Those who would like to reach Coach Janet or access any of our services, you can still reach us on hope@minet.co.ug. We will give you all the support that you need. We'll give you access to Coach Janet. We will support you in any way that's possible. I have posted the email in the chat. Please reach us, and one of our experts will get to you. If you would like to have a session with Coach Janet, do let us know and we'll make the coach available for you. Thank you so much, Coach Janet. I think for me, when you said when a doctor can't establish what's wrong with you, that's burnout. That was the quickest diagnosis for me. So members, there you have it. Such an insightful presentation. Thank you so, so much, Janet. I'd like to ask you to give us your last parting shots, even as we painfully have to close this, this very lovely session.
Okay. Last parting thoughts are, nothing is ever as it seems. Trust me, nothing is ever as it seems. Perception is just perception, and that's it. Whatever it is that's not working out, what you're making it mean is what's causing you the pain, nothing else. What you're making it mean. Remember that. Remember that circumstances are facts. We can't change them, but we can only change what we think about them. And once we change what we think about them, then we can change what we feel about them. All right. And somebody was asking, do I do private sessions? Absolutely. I do have a website, unconsciousbrilliance.com. You can find me there, or any of the social media pages. Just type Janet Nambi, you'll find me. Unconscious Brilliance by Janet Nambi, you'll find me. All right. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so, so much, Coach Janet. Indeed, circumstances will always happen. What makes the difference is how you think about them. Thank you so, so much. Those that have teams, emojis, please give some love to our coach. You can throw some flowers, some hand claps, but just to thank you so, 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 so much, Coach Janet, for a very insightful presentation. And thank you so much, team. Yes, I see the hearts coming in. Thank you, Timothy. Thank you, everybody who's sending in the love hearts. I hope you're seeing them, Coach Janet. And I would like to thank our audience. Thank you so much for spending this 1.5 hours with us. It is such valuable time. We thank you. And our promise is that we'll be bringing you more of these topical discussions in the coming few weeks. So just watch out for our communication as it comes through for more of these very insightful presentations. And who knows, maybe Coach Janet will be right back for one of our next sessions. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for engaging. Thank you for all the comments Thank you for all the questions. Thank you, Janet. I hope you saw the feedback in the chats. Very insightful presentation. So thank you so much, team. Minet appreciates you. Thank you for joining us. Have a lovely, lovely afternoon.